Hi, welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, a weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Johnny DC.
And I'm his twin brother, Marvelous Joe.
And after a couple of reviews, we're getting back to a duel episode. This time, we're pitting Rick Flagg against Nick Fury.
Rick versus Nick.
Both of these characters are like spy characters. They're actually, I think, pretty similar, and we'll find out more about them later on in the episode when we break down the characters' histories before running stat simulations to find out who would win in a fight.
Yeah, this will be more of a bare bones fight, even though both characters have access to awesome gadgets, but compared to like the Kilowog Beta Ray Bill fight, this will be much more down to earth.
Yeah, and of course, this episode is coming off of our last episode in which we reviewed Iron Man 2, in which Nick Fury is a character.
And it's also a lead up to our upcoming Suicide Squad versus Defenders episode, which would have been next episode, but we're reviewing Falcon and the Winter Soldier instead. And then after that, we're going to do the big team battle. And of course, Rick Flagg is a key member of Suicide Squad.
Yeah, before we get into the matchup, we're going to break down the comic book movie news items from the past week, of which there wasn't a lot of news.
No, slow news week.
Yeah, the big thing really is some DC casting news, with Lucy Liu joining Shazam Fury of the Gods, and Pilou Asbaek joining Aquaman 2.
As always, we list our segment times in our episode description, so feel free to check out the show notes if you want to skip ahead to a particular topic. Remember, guys, if you want to support the show, there are 3 ways that you can do it. First way is you can follow us on social media, particularly Instagram, because we're trying to get to 1,000 followers there. And once we do that, we have a special surprise for you guys.
You can also rate or review us on your platform of choice, whether it be Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. That really helps.
And you can also join us on Patreon, where Jonathan and I have a Discord set up with our patrons where we get to shoot the shit all the time, get into arguments with each other, and then, everybody else gets to see Jonathan and I arguing. It's a good time. But you also get access to bonus content, such as blooper reels and our monthly Bracket Brawl tournament duels. Thanks to everyone who supports the show. We see you guys, and we love you.
I mean, are we at that point in our relationship where we could freely say that?
I feel comfortable with that.
It's been like 5 years. Why not?
But with that out of the way,
quick to the No Prize.
A No Prize is an award Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award we post on social media that Jonathan personally draws for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week. Last week's question was coming off of the new Loki trailer and the Batman The Long Halloween Part 1 trailer. That's the DC animated film that's coming out this summer. Both projects are coming out around the same time, and we asked you guys which trailer got you most pumped. We got a few answers, I have a few honorable mentions to get through, and then we'll announce the No Prize winner. Our first honorable mention goes to Son of Saruman, who said,
I'd say the Long Halloween trailer, but just narrowly, because I really like seeing Jensen Ackles, and I wanted him to be Batman in the CW, which they obviously went in a different direction, unfortunately. But yeah, I think it's cool that he at least gets what he deserves animated. He would be a pretty cool Red Hood, though, and I'm Son of Saruman. Cheers.
Yeah, of course, Jensen Ackles did the voice for Red Hood in the really popular Under the Red Hood animated film.
Yeah, but he was fan cast in a lot of Batman family related roles throughout the years, and he never really got the opportunity to pick any of those roles up in live action.
Which is a shame, because his cosplays that he does for Halloween of the Red Hood and Batman are insanely cool.
Yeah, they are really good. He's a great cosplayer. We mentioned in our breakdown of the trailer last week that you thought Jensen Ackles had a really good Batman voice, and I was like, to me, he sounds like Red Hood.
Yeah, no, honestly, I wasn't even thinking about the casting when I heard the trailer. I was just so excited that this Long Halloween film is going to exist.
I always thought Jensen Ackles would make the perfect Hal Jordan, though.
He'd also make a good Nightwing. He'd make a good...
He's too old for Nightwing now.
That's true. He's a good Batman age, though, so this role works for him.
Yeah. Our next honorable mention goes to Nate, who said,
I'm looking forward to Loki over Batman Long Halloween, but the Long Halloween trailer was definitely very intriguing. Concept of Batman letting Damian go out trick-or-treating for the first time and staying past his curfew, that's going to cause some tension between the father-son relationship. Plus, Batman dresses up as Ivy? That's insane. By the way, this is Nate who doesn't watch trailers.
That's right. If you remember from our WandaVision review, we asked you guys, do you watch all the trailers for a given film or project? And Nate was the one who didn't watch any trailers because he didn't want anything to get spoiled. So nice callback, Nate. That being said, you forgot to mention the part of this trailer where Tim Drake goes TPing and Nightwing and Batgirl throw a raging Halloween kegger. And they're like, this is a long Halloween, woo! You remember that?
I don't remember any of this from the trailer. You know what? I'd still watch this.
Hell yeah. Great answer. Always appreciate the funny ones.
And still respect the heck out of Nate's commitment to not watching trailers. Our final honorable mention goes to Zach Hepburn, who said,
Hey guys, Zach Hepburn here, and I have to say I definitely enjoyed the Batman Long Halloween trailer way more than the Loki one, because I've been waiting forever for them to make a Long Halloween movie. And DC rules and Marvel sucks, so I mean, obviously the Batman trailer.
Oh, dropping them lie bombs. Those not truth bombs.
I don't know, I think it's pretty spot on.
Marvel's way better, first of all. But as I understand it, The Long Halloween is a quintessential Batman story that fans have been clamoring for a animated or live action adaptation of for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's the birth of Harvey Dent as Two-Face, and it's just a really, really compelling, interesting story that uses a ton of Batman's rogues. It's everything you would want in a Batman story. And again, I love the fact that not only are they making this film, but it seems to be hopefully in continuity with the larger DC animated universe, the new one that they're establishing. Fingers crossed there.
Yeah, and hopefully they take their time in building this new universe. I want like each character to get their own solo film before we see the Justice League. So we've had Superman, we're getting Batman, we're getting the Wonder Woman movie.
/ Justice Society film.
Yeah. Hopefully we get to see Green Lantern and the Flash in their own animated films in this universe before they all team up.
And Aquaman.
Before we announce the No Prize winner, we want to give a special thank you to Miggy Madden-Geehan, who also took the time to go onto our website, hit that record button, and share his views with us. Thank you so much to everyone who does that. We love hearing from you guys, whether you make it onto the episode or not.
But the winner of this week's No Prize is Patrick Jeffries, who said,
Hey guys, this is Patrick from Tennessee. Big fan. Just got through watching the Loki trailer and the Batman trailer. Both of them look pretty good, but I gotta say, the Loki trailer really blew me out of the water. We've been waiting for his redemption arc for so long that it looks like they stayed true to his character. He's still got a little sinister side. And Owen Wilson is there? Come on, in a semi-serious role. I love that, and I'm excited to see what's going to come out of it.
The way he said Owen Wilson's there, come on, makes me think that this actually was Owen Wilson responding under the guise of Patrick Jeffries. But no, Owen Wilson, he has such just like a lovable, quirky charm to him. He easily straddles the line between comedy and drama in a way that few other actors can. So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to Loki's new redemption arc. We know that he kind of had one within the events of the movies Thor the Dark World, Thor Ragnarok, and Avengers Infinity War. The Loki that's in this show is a variant on that Loki, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of parallels we find between these two redemption stories.
Yeah, the show just looks like it's going to be amazing. I'm actually looking forward to it. Even as a DC fan, can't wait to see it. That said, I do have to point out that although the winner of this week's No Prize went to someone who gave the answer of Loki, we did get more answers for the Long Halloween.
Quality over quantity, what can I tell you? But congrats again to Patrick Jeffries, aka Owen Wilson, for winning this week's No Prize. If you, the listener, want a shot at winning your own No Prize, stay tuned to later on this episode when we'll be asking another question of the week. And now that that's done,
on to the news! So we learned this past week that Lucy Liu has been cast as one of the villains in the Shazam sequel, Fury of the Gods.
Right, she'll be playing the role of Calypso, who is one of the daughters of Atlas, alongside Helen Mirren, who's playing Hespera.
And possibly Rachel Zegler, though we don't know the name of her character yet. Rachel Zegler is a newcomer. I think this is only her second film that she's ever done. She's going to be Maria in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. And she's Colombian, so you're going to have a Latina actress with an Asian American and an English woman as the villains. It's a pretty diverse villainous cast there.
Well, just like the Shazam family.
For sure, for sure.
It's been a while since we've seen Lucy Liu. I don't think I've seen her in anything since Kill Bill, because I never watched Elementary.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think I've seen her in anything else, in the theaters at least. She's a talented actress.
Yeah, but she's also a talented director. I do know that she did direct some episodes of the Luke Cage Netflix show.
What, really?
In season 2, yeah.
I don't remember that. That's cool.
Yeah, she's talented.
And so is Helen Mirren. It's always great when you see talent coming on board a project, because if talent is attracted to it, it's got to be good.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what their costumes look like and how this whole Shazam film turns out.
Another talented actor joined DC this past week. Pilou Asbaek has been cast in the Aquaman 2 film, although we have no idea who he's playing. If you're not familiar with his name, he played Euron Greyjoy in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he's also been in some other films like Overlord.
He was also in the live-action Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, he's a Danish actor. He's super talented. Love to hate him in Game of Thrones. He was only on that show for like the last couple of seasons, which had a shorter episode count, but he became such a force of nature within that show.
Yeah, he has quite the range. His performance as Euron Greyjoy was pretty unhinged, and yet in Ghost in the Shell, he was really subdued and calm, but it was still a noteworthy performance because he had to wear these things over his eyes and he still had to act through that.
I always thought he'd make a good Lobo.
Oh, he totally would. That's right.
Who do you think he's playing in this movie?
Honestly, I have no idea. That's a great question.
Is it a great enough question for the question of the week?
As a matter of fact, it is this week's question of the week. Who do you hope Pilou Asbaek will play in Aquaman 2? Gotta dig down deep.
I feel like this is going to be a hard question for most people because Aquaman doesn't have the greatest rogues gallery.
Rogues gallery? Who says he's gonna be a rogue? He may be an ally.
That's true. But you have to know your Aquaman characters regardless. So maybe go listen to our Aquaman versus Submariner episode to get the backstory on him.
Yeah, I think that was a reduel episode.
Yeah.
And record your answer at dynamicduel.com by clicking on the red microphone button in the bottom right-hand corner, which will prompt you to leave us a voicemail. Your message can be up to 30 seconds long, and don't forget to leave your name in case we include you on the podcast. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we will post to social media. Be sure to answer before April 24th.
But I think that does it for all the news for this episode. Again, it was a slow news week, guys. But now we're going to get into the main event of this episode where we find out who would win in a fight between Rick Flagg and Nick Fury. So let's do it.
Okay, Rick Flagg versus Nick Fury. One leads the Suicide Squad, and the other leads the S.H.I.E.L.D. organization.
And they both have 4-letter F-word last names.
But not that 4-letter F word. We're talking about the Flagg versus the Fury. Now, I think most people would think that a good matchup for Nick Fury would actually be Amanda Waller, considering she's really the head of the Suicide Squad organizations, and, you know, she's a government agent and everything like that. But she's not a field operative in the same way that Nick Fury is.
Right.
So I thought Rick Flagg was a good substitute, considering he's Amanda Waller's right-hand man and a soldier.
Yeah, both characters are proficient in armed and unarmed combat. They both have legacies established with Nick Fury Sr. and Nick Fury Jr. and Rick Flagg Sr., Rick Flagg Jr.
Right.
They have a lot in common.
Yeah, this should be a good duel. If you've never listened to one of our duel episodes before, the way we determine a winner between these two characters is by running 1,000 Monte Carlo simulations using their statistics. Now, Monte Carlo simulation is a probabilistic model used to determine outcomes through random sampling.
And in our case, it randomizes statistics along a normal distribution, which is a bell curve, as a way to simulate the many variables that can occur during battle. The stat parameters we use are based on the official Marvel Power Grid, and we use that criteria to extrapolate the DC characters' stats. We've included some additional stat categories of our own, including range, damage potential, versatility, and perception in order to create a more complete and robust simulation.
Now, running these 1,000 simulations gives us a percentage of wins for each character, and we declare the one with the higher percentage to be the ultimate victor, considering that they're more likely to win any given battle. Now, no character ever wins 100% of the time. Comics have shown that there's always a way for Batman to defeat Superman, and we feel our method falls in line with the precedents that have been established in the comic book stories.
And we use this method because it was the least subjective, most unbiased way to determine who would win. Of course, we're both heavily biased toward our respective allegiances, and instead of debating these matches forever, we just let the math decide for us. So there's no fan votes here, and no relying on just feats.
Before we run the simulations, however, we like to break down each character's histories and abilities before improvising a scenario on how we imagine one of the 1,000 simulations we run would play out, beat for beat.
And I think it's my turn to go first this episode with the backstory of Nick Fury, so let me go ahead and tell you all about him. Now, Nicholas Joseph Fury was born in 1920s New York City to World War I veteran Jack Fury. Growing up in the poor, rough neighborhood of Hell's Kitchen, Nick became an amateur boxer training with the New York City Police Athletic League. Nick traveled overseas to fight alongside European troops against the growing Nazi threat prior to World War II. He trained with British commandos where he was discovered to be a crack shot, and was recruited to a mission in Holland where he met his best friend Dum Dum Dugan, a former circus strongman. Nick returned home to enlist in the U.S. Army, where after basic training, he was stationed at Schofield Barracks in Hawaii, which was tasked with helping protect the U.S. Navy base Pearl Harbor. Nick swore revenge on the Axis forces after the Japanese attack on the base, and joined the Army Rangers, where he was promoted to Sergeant Nick Fury and was assigned a unit of specially trained soldiers. They took on some of the most dangerous missions of the war, primarily across Europe, and were nicknamed the Howling Commandos for their Wahoo battle cry they would shout before kicking all kinds of Nazi ass. Nick and his commandos were the rock stars of Allied battlefronts, gruff, unpredictable, yet highly effective in completing missions. They occasionally teamed up with other heroes of the era, such as Captain America and Bucky, whom you can learn more about in our Commander Steel vs. Captain America episode and our Robin vs. Winter Soldier episode, respectively. The Howling Commandos were regularly successful in stopping Baron Wolfgang von Strucker and his personal military force called Hydra. Nick and Baron von Strucker became mortal enemies during the war and beyond, and Hydra would prove to be a threat for outlasting its Nazi roots. Toward the end of the war, Nick lost his left eye from shrapnel caused from a grenade blast that resulted in his optic nerve being severed. He wore his trademark eye patch from then forward. After the fall of the Third Reich, Nick began working for the Office of Strategic Services, which was a precursor to the Central Intelligence Agency. While in France, he was severely injured by a landmine. To save his life, he was injected with an experimental serum known as the Infinity Formula, which would from then on drastically slow his aging process. Nick then served as an espionage agent for the CIA against communist forces, rising through the agency's ranks to Colonel Nick Fury, and later acting as a liaison to exchange pertinent data with relevant costumed superheroes against supervillain threats across the world. This led him to work with other heroes such as the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, Doctor Strange, and more. His experience in fighting global terror resulted in his appointment as the director of the Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division, aka SHIELD, an international law enforcement and intelligence agency sanctioned by the United Nations and led by the World Security Council. Nick recruited many of his former Howling Commandos, including Dum Dum Dugan, as well as new recruits including Contessa Valentina Allegra de la Fontaine, who was Nick's longtime love interest. Together,
That's a mouthful.
that's what she said. Together, the organization stopped and assisted other heroes against worldwide threats, particularly Hydra. That war with Hydra resulted in a weapons technology race, with S.H.I.E.L.D. engineers working around the clock to provide agents with the latest weapons, gadgets, and gear to compete against Baron von Strucker and his evil army. One of the most advanced technologies S.H.I.E.L.D. employed was the Life Model Decoy Robot, aka an LMD, which would be designed and programmed to resemble agents in the field for purposes of deception. Over time, as S.H.I.E.L.D. grew into a large organization, Nick realized that many of his friends within S.H.I.E.L.D. had been killed and replaced by these LMDs who had become sentient and tried to take over. Disillusioned and not knowing who to trust, Nick disbanded the agency and restarted S.H.I.E.L.D. from the ground up. Later, a S.H.I.E.L.D. investigation uncovered that many low-level tech-based supervillains in America were secretly equipped by the Eastern European nation of Latveria, which Dr. Doom ruled over. Nick presented this evidence to the US government, who declined to take official action. Sensing an imminent threat, Nick Fury went rogue and covertly banded a group of superheroes together to topple the Latverian government. When Latveria launched a destructive counterattack on US soil, the truth of Nick's actions came out and he was forced to resign from S.H.I.E.L.D. and go into hiding to avoid persecution.
Was this the Secret War?
Yes. Agent Maria Hill then took over as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. While in hiding, Nick learned of the impending Skrull invasion of Earth and assembled an incognito team of anonymous heroes to stop it, including former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Daisy Johnson, also known as Quake. Nick and his secret warriors helped repel the invasion as well as put an end to Norman Osborn's takeover of S.H.I.E.L.D., which had been renamed to Hammer at the time. Meanwhile, an Army Ranger named Marcus Johnson came home from a tour in Afghanistan after learning his mother, Nia, had passed away. While at home, he came across blood and a Russian bullet casing, discovering that his mother had actually been murdered. Marcus was then ambushed by the villain Taskmaster, but was rescued by none other than Nick Fury, who had come out of hiding, and revealed that he was Marcus's father, and that his mom, Nia, used to be a former CIA agent who changed her name after she retired from espionage. Marcus's birth name was actually Nick Fury Jr. In the confusion about this revelation, both Nick and Nick Jr. were captured by an evil organization called Leviathan, who had killed Nia in order to draw Nick Fury Jr. out so they could access the age-halting infinity formula in his blood that he inherited from his father. Leviathan cut out Nick Jr.'s left eyeball to scan it for the formula, while Nick slipped his restraints and helped his son escape. Nick was captured and drained of the infinity formula to restore Leviathan's leader to a youthful state, a process which horribly aged Nick Fury. Nick Jr. enlisted the help of his friend Phil Coulson to save his father and kill Leviathan's leader. With Nick now aged to nearly 100 years old, Nick Jr. and Phil Coulson joined S.H.I.E.L.D., where they became top operatives under director Maria Hill. Nick, in one of his last acts, investigated the removal of one of the eyes of the Watcher, the Watcher being a passive alien observer who lived on the moon, recording all of the events on Earth. Realizing the only way to know who took the Watcher's eye would be to take his other eye, Nick killed the Watcher and then helped Earth's heroes stop a villain called the Orb from using his now infinite knowledge to take over the world.
The heck?
The Watchers of the other worlds then punished Nick for killing Earth's observer by turning Nick into a Watcher himself.
Oh wow.
Forced to see the events of Earth but never interfere, now known as the Unseen. This included watching his son Nick Jr. continue the never-ending fight against the ever-present Hydra. For this matchup, I'll be going with Nick Fury Jr. over Nick Sr., since he's the current active S.H.I.E.L.D. official, and plus he's the one most people are probably familiar with, since Nick Fury Jr. has the likeness resembling Samuel L. Jackson. But abilities-wise, Nick Fury Jr. is comparable with Nick Fury in his prime. That is, Fury is an experienced armed and unarmed combat expert with his training as an Army Ranger and years serving in the line of duty. The Infinity Formula in his body keeps him from aging and keeps him in perfect physical condition. He employs various high-powered firearms, including a 15 caliber, 300-round needle pistol.
What? Shoots needles?
Yeah, shoots needles.
Okay.
A 60-round automatic machine pistol with spent uranium cores, and a plasma beam handgun effective up to 30 meters with a power pack that allows up to 95 seconds of usage. He carries several throwing knives, grenades, and a few other tricks. Fury's shield uniform is made of 9-ply Kevlar and has 3 modes: regular, stealth mode, which scrambles any surveillance directed at him, and kill mode, which injects adrenaline and beta blockers into his bloodstream, slightly increasing his strength and speed. Finally, Fury is highly intelligent and has a near unparalleled strategic mind. And that's Nick Fury.
Nick Fury actually has a really cool arc in the comics.
Yeah, I liked it. And I like how they incorporated his son into his story and everything like that.
Yeah, it totally works. That's great. It's great to see a character written so well.
Yeah.
Rick Flag, of course, is not as popular or prevalent as Nick Fury in the DC universe, but I think his history is pretty interesting as well. Let me get into that now. During World War II, U.S. Air Force Captain Richard Montgomery Flagg Sr. and his squadron successfully sank a Japanese aircraft carrier. Captain Flagg, aka Rick, was the only surviving member of his team, as the others had sacrificed themselves to protect his plane and allow it to drop the primary bomb that destroyed the ship. Deeply affected by their heroism and sacrifice, Flagg vowed to honor their memory and protect the lives of other soldiers. His dedication and drive inspired other soldiers and garnered the attention of his military superiors, who handpicked him to lead Squadron S, a military unit composed of unruly soldiers, disobedient, alienated, psychotic, expendable to the military brass. And yet, under the leadership of Captain Flagg, Squadron S, aka the Suicide Squadron, became an elite unit in the war, successful in seemingly impossible missions.
Is that a retcon, or does Suicide Squad really have its origins in World War II?
Suicide Squad has its origins just after World War II. This is a post-crisis retcon, but they did exist before Task Force X.
Fascinating.
Most of Squadron S survived the war thanks to Captain Flagg, who went on to marry Sharon Rice, the cousin of one of his old soldier friends, Jeb Stewart. Squadron S was reactivated during the Korean War, with Captain Flagg once again leading the team. But after the House of Un-American Activities Committee forced the JSA into retirement in the 1950s, which you can learn more about in our JSA vs. Fantastic Four episode, President Harry S. Truman was still forced to deal with supervillains and international threats. So he created Task Force X, a pair of covert government units, one civilian and one military, charged with maintaining metahuman crises domestic and abroad. Jeb Stuart oversaw the military branch and pulled Captain Flagg and his soldiers out of Korea to serve under Task Force X. Around this time, Flagg and his wife had a son, Rick Flagg Jr., in whom Captain Flagg instilled the same values that he instilled in his soldiers: courage, duty, and sacrifice. These same values were exemplified by Rick Jr.'s mom, Sharon, when she was hit and killed by a car that was going to hit Rick Jr. until she pushed him out of the way. Rick Jr. was only 8 years old when his mom died, and Rick Sr. was never the same afterward. 2 years later, when a nigh unstoppable Nazi war wheel emerged on American shores, Captain Rick sacrificed himself, crashing his plane into the war machine, destroying it just before it reached a major city. His last words were for his men to tell his son to carry on for him, which Rick Jr. vowed to do at his father's funeral. Orphaned, Rick Jr. was taken in by Jeb Stuart, who raised Rick with heroic tales of his father. When he was old enough, Rick went into military academy and graduated at the top of his class. He later went to flight school and became a top-rated pilot, after which he began training as an astronaut. During this training, Rick met a woman named Karen Grace. The two fell in love with each other, but before Rick could propose marriage, he received a letter from Jeb requesting that he lead the newly reactivated Suicide Squad, now primarily a civilian unit composed of 4 members: Rick, the soldier, a physicist named Jess Bright, the astronomer Dr. Hugh Evans, and Karen Grace, whom Rick brought along with him as the team's medic, though the two agreed to hide their relationship. The team went public with their exploits, battling everything from dinosaurs to kaiju to aliens and gangsters. Over time, both Bright and Dr. Evans also fell in love with Karen, though the two were later killed by a Yeti while the team was on a mission in Cambodia.
Oh, how convenient. Methinks foul play?
No. They sacrificed themselves to save Karen, and their deaths drove a wedge between her and Rick. Task Force X was disbanded. Afterward, Rick worked as a government freelancer, helping King Faraday and the Central Bureau of Intelligence during one mission to rescue their lost agent, Ben Turner, aka the Bronze Tiger, who you can learn more about in our Bronze Tiger vs. White Tiger episode. Everything changed years later when a government official named Amanda Waller came up with the idea to create a new Task Force X composed of supervillains, a covert, expendable team that gave the government built-in deniability if they were ever caught. Waller brought on Rick to lead the team, who in turn chose Bronze Tiger to be his right-hand man. During the team's first initial missions, the supervillains learned quickly that Task Force X was a suicide squad, and that they were being used for their expendability. Several team members died during their early missions, though one Rick was forced to abandon during a mission in Soviet Russia, the villain Nemesis. Waller relieved Rick of his command duty upon the team's return to the States, putting Bronze Tiger in charge instead. Not long after, Rick was betrayed by his former sweetheart, Karen Grace, to an android army known as the Manhunters. She had a last-minute change of heart, however, and she sacrificed herself to save Rick, confessing her continued love to him before she died. Waller eventually reinstated Rick as the Suicide Squad's leader, after which he brought the team on an unauthorized mission to rescue Nemesis from Soviet captivity. President Ronald Reagan sent the Justice League International to intervene, and Rick fought Batman nearly to a standstill until Batman got the upper hand and put Rick in the hospital. Nonetheless, the two teams ended up joining forces to complete Rick's mission and rescue Nemesis. Occasionally, the squad ran into a terrorist organization known as Jihad, a group Rick's father also combated during World War II. After Rick discovered he and Karen had a son, Rick Flagg III, Jihad kidnapped the boy, though he was later rescued by Nemesis and given to an adoptive family. On a solo mission, Rick snuck into Jihad's lair to destroy a prototype Nazi atomic bomb that they had gotten a hold of, and Rick seemingly died when he was attacked by Jihad's leader, the villain Rustam, just before the base exploded. In reality, Rustam teleported himself and Rick accidentally to a planet named Scartaris, using his size scimitar just before the bomb went off. There, Rick managed to kill Rustam and use his scimitar to escape back to Earth, where he was captured and imprisoned for years by the nation of Kurak before Amanda Waller learned of his presence and sent Bronze Tiger in to rescue him. Placed in charge of the Suicide Squad once again, Rick Flag learned from the squad's newest recruit, a monstrous villain named General Wade Eiling, that Rick Flag Sr. never had a son, and that General Eiling brainwashed Rick, whose real name was Anthony Miller, into believing he was the World War II hero's son.
What?
Using his prior brainwashing to control Rick, General Eiling nearly succeeded in detonating a bomb within Amanda Waller's head, but it turned out Rick Flag was wearing earplugs all along and only pretended to be under the General's control, and he detonated the General's head bomb instead. Given the option to resume his past life as Anthony Miller, Rick decided to remain on the squad as Rick Flag Jr. Flag re-emerged in the comics during the Rebirth continuity shift, where it was revealed his absence post-Flashpoint was the result of him being in a military prison after he refused orders as a colonel that would have gotten his men killed. His men were forced to handcuff him and follow through on the orders, each one of them dying. Living with that guilt, Rick accepted an offer from Amanda Waller to get out of prison and lead her team of supervillains in an effort to save lives. After leading the Suicide Squad on several successful missions, including one against the Justice League, which they won, it was revealed that the intelligence used for the mission that got Rick's men killed years ago was falsified by Amanda Waller, knowing Rick would reject the orders and get imprisoned, and knowing his men would die, all because she profiled him as the best suited to lead the Suicide Squad team she had planned.
Oh shit.
Upon learning this, Rick was given the opportunity by the zombie-like return of his men to blow up Waller's head with a bomb implant, an offer he ultimately rejected as he still blamed himself for their death as their team leader. Together, he and the Suicide Squad defeated the zombies, despite Rick having to once again see them die. Colonel Rick Flag Jr. has no superhuman powers to speak of, though he is in peak physical condition. His greatest trait, however, is his leadership and strategic intelligence. He basically has a leadership superpower. He's an expert hand-to-hand combatant, having mastered all military forms of combat, and he's able to hold his own against some of the best fighters in the world, including Batman and Bronze Tiger.
Nick has fought Captain America before, just saying.
Not impressed. On missions, Rick is often equipped with body armor and a wide array of military equipment, including dual semi-automatic Beretta M9 pistols, an automatic rifle, a shotgun, knives, tear gas, etc. He also carries explosives and a detonator in case one of the Suicide Squad members gets out of line. Occasionally, his missions have also brought him across various alien and magic weaponry, most notably the Psi Scimitar, which he stole from the villain Rustam. It's a flaming mystic scimitar that can cut portals through space-time that Rick used before the New 52 reboot.
So what, he can teleport with it?
Yeah, it's how he escaped the planet of Skartaris.
Okay. I'm sure S.H.I.E.L.D. has some kind of like teleportation technology. It's fine.
I don't imagine the scimitar will come into play too much because he doesn't use it that often in the comics. I just knew I was going to need some backup for all of Nick Fury's weird gadgetry that you're probably going to bust out.
Hell yeah, you are. Now, you said that he has dual Berettas, but we learned from our executive producer, Ken Johnson, who's in the Army, that no one dual wields because you need to aim.
Unless you're Rick Flag.
Okay.
And you're a badass.
All right. Well, you know what? Both these characters have great backstories, I've learned. They're both fascinating and well-written.
Yeah, I agree. But now that we've gotten their histories and abilities out of the way, let's speculate on how one of the 1,000 simulated matches will go. The winner is determined by simulations, not this speculation, but it's fun to imagine how this fight could play out.
Now, we don't set any rules for this match other than the characters don't know anything about each other going in, except that the other guy is a threat that needs to be put down. And we say they start off about 50 meters apart in an environment that has no bearing on the match itself, because we don't take stats for the environment.
Plus, certain characters have advantages in some environments over others, and we want these characters to win on their own merit. So let's get into it. The characters meet on the battlefield. Who goes first?
I want to say that Nick Fury goes first.
Why?
Because why not? He pulls out his needle gun, and he quickly fires a volley of needles at Rick Flag. Quick draw style. And now Flag's chest looks like a porcupine.
Needles. This needle gun kills me. Like, that is useless.
No, it's not.
I mean, for one thing, that's just like getting a vaccine or something. Like, people get shot with needles all the time. And the other, Flag wears body armor, so that's just going to stop the needles from penetrating into his skin. So Flag's just going to pull out his Beretta M9 and fire back. Boom. Bullets trump needles.
But rockets trump bullets. Because Nick Fury, he's going to like reach into his jacket as he's dodging Rick Flag's Beretta fire, and he's going to pull out this like collapsible mini rocket launcher, and he's going to aim it, and he's going to fire it right at Rick Flag's feet, creating this massive explosion that just rocks him.
Okay, right when Flagg sees this missile being aimed right at him, he just runs, okay? And, the explosion probably sends him flying. He's hurt, but, like, he'll survive. He's a soldier. You could survive that, right?
I mean, if you get enough distance away from it, probably.
Yeah. So he's been knocked to the ground, but while he's there, he's going to hurl a flashbang right back at Fury that blinds him, all right? And while Fury is
Fury only has to close one eye to avoid getting blinded.
And he didn't do it in time. Okay, so while Fury is dazed and confused, that's when Flagg is just gonna snipe him from a distance. Boom, headshot.
No, because as soon as Fury was blinded, he knew that he needed to protect himself, so he activated the magnetic repel function on his watch, which like deflects any metallic objects being fired at him. So the sniper bullet actually goes off course because of the magnetic watch, and it just goes into his shoulder, somewhere non-vital. So Fury drops his needle gun, but then he busts out his automatic machine pistol, and he's just like brat, brat, fires it in Flagg's direction because his eyesight is starting to come back now.
Okay, but Flagg sees through his scope that Fury has drawn a new gun, okay? So right when he points it in Flagg's direction, Flagg just dives out of the way and expertly shoots Fury's gun out of his hand with his own gun.
He shoots it out of his hand from that distance?
I mean, it's still a sniper rifle.
Well, it's a good thing that Nick Fury has guns to spare. In fact, now he pulls out this grapple gun, and he fires a line at Rick Flagg, and it wraps around his leg, and Fury just reels him in and yanks him into close range. And as he draws Flagg's in, he pulls out his plasma pistol.
Okay, but before Nick Fury could get any kind of shot off with that, as Flagg is getting reeled in, he just grabs a knife and severs the line when he's about 5 meters away.
Okay, the line gets severed, but Flagg gets shot with the plasma handgun, which just melts the body armor on Flagg's chest.
What?
Just useless.
Okay, I don't know, I think it'll take a while to melt that much. So as that's happening, Rick Flagg is just gonna pull out a shotgun and just blast Nick Fury.
No, because Nick Fury sees him pull out the shotgun, and then he activates this dial on his plasma handgun, which increases the spread of the plasma shot, and so the shotgun shot gets melted midair by the plasma.
What?
And then Nick Fury shoots his plasma gun at the shotgun barrel, which melts the barrel.
Oh my gosh. Didn't that thing have a charge limit to it, 90 seconds?
Yeah, something like that.
I'm pretty sure this thing's depleted. So now, Flagg leaps to his feet and ignites his Psi Scimitar, okay, like a lightsaber, and he swings at Fury.
No, wait, so what does this Psi Scimitar look like? Because I'm imagining Cable's Scimitar when I think of this thing, which is like a psychic lance.
No, the Psi Scimitar is a flaming scimitar. Actually, it's just a handle, but someone with warrior blood in them can ignite a scimitar blade that's flaming.
Like a magic lightsaber?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Well, at this point, Nick Fury activates his suit's kill mode, which jacks him full of adrenaline. He's hyper aware and enhanced physically, and he's just dodging these sword slashes from Rick Flagg's scimitar. And then he busts out a taser and just freaking tases Rick Flagg, causing him to drop his sword, which Nick Fury picks up, and now he has the Psi Scimitar.
Okay, even if he could activate the flame,
which he could,
he wouldn't know how to use it, okay? So I'm gonna say that when Fury tries to slash at Rick, he's just gonna accidentally open up a portal, okay? So Flagg is gonna tuck and roll and maneuver behind Fury really quickly and just kick him through the portal, eliminating him from the match.
This weapon is stupid. So Nick Fury is gonna dodge the kick. He's not gonna fall through the portal, but the sword is gonna get kicked out of his hand, and the sword is gonna fall through the portal. And so the sword is just no more. There's no more magic lightsaber sword in this match.
Well, that sucks.
So the portal closes, sword's gone, and now that they're in close, Nick Fury pulls out one of his big knives, and he and Rick Flagg start having a knife fight.
I'm gonna say Flagg doesn't pull out a knife. He's gonna pull out his bomb injector, okay?
This is like a syringe?
Sort of. It has an injector feature on one end and a trigger button on the other.
Okay.
Okay, so as Fury is trying to stab him, Flagg's gonna get him in a reverse headlock, and he manages to inject a bomb in the base of Fury's neck.
What?
To which he now has the detonator.
Well, Fury's like, what the hell did you just inject me with? And then he stabs Flagg right in the arm, which allows him to wrest Rick Flagg's detonator from his possession. So now Fury has the detonator.
But Rick Flagg's just gonna take Fury's knife that's sticking out of his arm and hurl it right at Fury, right into his good eye.
What?
So now he's blinded in both eyes, and that lets Flagg get back his detonator, which he detonates, blowing Fury's head off. Didn't see that one coming.
Well,
literally.
That's kind of hard to counteract against when he is freaking blind in both eyes. But fortunately for Fury, Flagg just blew off the head of an LMD. It wasn't really Nick Fury, it was a life model decoy.
How did Fury get an LMD into this match?
That's classified. But the real Nick Fury was using his shield stealth suit to hide from Rick Flagg. So with the LMD gone, the real Nick Fury just steps out of the shadows and shoots Rick Flagg right in his face.
There was no point at this match where Nick Fury would have had an opportunity to hide.
I told you, it's classified. It's been redacted from the report. Need to know basis only, that's how espionage works. If I told you, I'd have to kill you, which Nick Fury just did.
I'm gonna call total bullshit. Nick Fury's dead.
All right, well, we'll call it there. Either Nick Fury got his head blown off, or it was an LMD. Let's go ahead and run the results of this match using our duel simulator, and we'll find out which scenario happened when we get back.
This is a pretty fun match. It's always kind of hard when you just have guys with guns without, like, cover.
Yeah.
But this had a few fun surprises.
What wasn't surprising were the stats. These guys were pretty dang comparable on almost every stat category.
Yeah, we did give the evasiveness edge to Nick Fury, considering he's a little bit more stealthy than Rick Flagg.
And he has his magnetic repel watch.
Right. And we also gave him an edge when it came to durability, considering he wears like a full bodysuit, and Rick Flagg usually just wears a tactical vest over a yellow shirt.
Yeah, but Rick Flagg did get a slight edge in terms of perception, given that, he has two eyes.
Yeah, no blind spots there. Honestly, I'm not even sure how Nick Fury is such a good shot, considering he doesn't have depth perception.
That's a valid question.
I think in reality, he was like always aiming for Rick's head, but kept hitting his vest. Finally, the one other area they did differ was versatility. We said that Nick Fury has access to more resources, a few more gadgets, so he's slightly more versatile than Rick Flagg. It does appear that Nick Fury comes ahead in the stats, but is it enough to give him a considerable leg up in the simulations and give him the win?
Well, our Instagram followers think that it does, because by a whopping 85% majority in our polls, they think that Nick Fury will beat Rick Flagg.
I'm going to chalk that up to people just not liking the Suicide Squad film. Because Rick Flagg is every bit as much of a badass as Nick Fury.
I mean, if you say so, you're biased.
So are our Instagram followers, apparently. This is why we don't determine who wins by poll.
Because Marvel would always win. They usually win anyway.
That's not true.
The winner of the fight between Nick Fury and Rick Flagg is Nick Fury.
Mother flirkin'!
But it was pretty close. Fury won 572 matches out of the 1,000 battles. Rick Flagg only won 428. So 57.2% to 42.8%.
That's not too far off. I was hoping it was going to be closer than that, though. I kind of went into this kind of figuring that Rick Flagg was going to lose, mainly because of the whole body armor situation, but thought it was going to be closer to like 53.
You wish.
I totally wish. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, keep on wishing, because Marvel wins this one. DC loses yet again.
Again?
Yeah, I mean, we've won before. It works.
Okay.
In the end, Nick Fury basically just had so many more tricks up his sleeve than Rick Flagg, with his armor and his gadgets.
I do think, though, that Joel Kinnaman could totally stomp Samuel L. Jackson.
No, Samuel L. Jackson would just slap the shit out of Joel Kinnaman and be like, motherfucker!
Isn't Sam Jackson like 70 now?
Doesn't matter, man. He's that tough.
I personally think that the Suicide Squad could totally take over S.H.I.E.L.D. if they wanted to, if that was their mission. Absolutely.
I doubt that, but we'll never know, because we're going to pit the Suicide Squad against the Defenders. The Defenders Street team, consisting of Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and other Marvel Street heroes. That's going to be our next Duel episode in 2 weeks. It's going to be a big one. 7 characters versus 7 characters.
Yeah, it's always kind of daunting doing these team matches because we're comparing matrices of data instead of just one-to-one matches.
Yeah, but we've done JSA versus the Fantastic Four, Titans versus X-Men, and Justice League versus the Avengers before.
In the past, we've done our team matches like every 50th episode or so, but we've started doing them every 25th episode instead because there's so many teams out there that we want to see pitted against each other.
And plus, it'll give us 2 team matches a year, which is cool. Our next episode is actually episode 225, but we have to review The Falcon and the Winter Soldier next. So we're going to do that in our next episode, and then we're going to get into Suicide Squad versus the Defenders. So we got some great shows for you coming up. Be sure to tune in the coming weeks.
But I think that does it for this duel. Let us know what you thought about the results by writing to us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com or by visiting us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You can find links to all of our accounts by visiting our website, dynamicduel.com.
And remember, guys, we're particularly looking for followers on Instagram because once we hit 1,000 followers, we have a special surprise for you guys.
So if you're listening and you have an Instagram account, please make your way to our page and hit that follow button.
Right now. Immediately.
Are you still listening and you haven't done it? Go ahead and do it.
Also on our website, dynamicduel.com, is a link to our merch store where we sell t-shirts, hoodies, stickers, and more with our Dynamic Duel No Prize artwork that Jonathan draws. Jonathan, who are you drawing this week?
Well, I've already drawn Falcon and the Winter Soldier. One character that I haven't drawn from one of our past duels is Moon Knight. Actually, that was our very first duel episode between him and Batman.
I've been waiting for this my entire life. I love Moon Knight's look so much. He has the best costume out of all comics, I think.
And he's going to be a part of your Defenders team, so I think it works perfectly.
Yeah.
We want to remind everyone again to please subscribe to our show if you haven't, or please leave a rating or review on your platform of choice.
Please.
Sharing this show on social media or in person is also a big help for us.
And that does it for this episode, guys. We want to give a big thanks to our executive producers, Ken Johnson, Jace Crump, John Starosky, John Speas, John Bechinina, Zachary Hepburn. Thanks to all you guys for making this podcast possible, and we'll talk to everyone next week.
Up, and away!
True believers.